What's up YouTube, and welcome back to the Anabolic Outpost. In today's video I will be covering a recipe on how to make high protein blueberry lemon squares. I am a huge fan of lemon flavored desserts myself, and through all the experimenting I've done, I've found quite an excellent paired combo with the lemon flavor as well as blueberries. So if you're into those lemon flavored desserts as well, you really cannot go wrong with this recipe. I've actually made a couple different flavors of these squares on my channel before, so if you ever made those recipes before, you're going to be getting a similar texture in this recipe here. But of course, the flavor is completely different than anything that I've made on my channel before, and I believe it's been perfected to still have a great flavor to it while also being incredibly high in protein content and lower on the calorie side. So allow me to just quickly run through the ingredients you will need to make this. Starting off with the protein powder, I am using vanilla flavored protein powder for this from PE Science as always. Kind of a bit of a neutral flavor that I gotta go with, but if a lemon flavored protein powder exists out there, by all means use that. The next ingredient here is all-purpose flour. You could substitute a different flour if you'd like, but I don't really see a reason to compromise the texture on this. This next ingredient here is fat-free Greek yogurt, fat-free milk or your milk of choice, sucralose to sweeten it. Of course, you could substitute a different sweetener if you'd like, baking powder, blueberries, lemon juice, and lastly is lemon zest. And if you're really feeling ambitious, you could just use the lemon and juice it straight into there. I, however, am not. Starting this recipe off though, you could go ahead and take your mixing bowl out and place it on your digital scale. You could get a digital scale for less than $10 if you don't have one already, and there's also a link in the description to make it that much more simple for you. Once you have it set up though, you could begin to add in the ingredients, starting off with the vanilla protein powder here, adding in 40 grams. And just to let you know too, these squares are kind of small. They're only going to make about 2 to 3 servings. So if you're looking to have these squares last you throughout the entire week, I would recommend doubling up the recipe. Next, I'm going to throw in 40 grams of the flour. For my sweetener, I'm going to add in 3 grams, and be sure to convert it over if you're using a different sweetener. I'm throwing in that baking powder now, measuring it out to 3 grams. And that will actually conclude the insertion of the dry ingredients, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit these with a whisk here, just until they're mixed thoroughly before adding in the wet ingredients. But before we do that, and before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. And onward to adding in the wet ingredients, I'm adding in that Greek yogurt right now, measuring that out at 130 grams. And for the milk, just a little splash there, measure that out at 30 grams. And the same thing with the lemon juice, that will be 30 grams as well. And for the lemon zest, I'm not really measuring it out or anything. I'm kind of just going until it looks good, and I do like it really lemony. So use your best judgment on that. If you haven't tasted it before, just taste a little bit before it goes in. And from there, you should have a pretty good idea of how much to add. And just to give you a visual idea, this is how much I added here. And all the ingredients are added in now except for the blueberries, but I am going to go ahead and mix them before adding the blueberries because I don't really want them to get all mushed up in there. And I don't think you'll want it that way either. And you can see this is what it's looking like once it's thoroughly mixed. I definitely could have used a smaller bowl, so sorry for the bad visual representation on this. Hopefully you understand though, and if you don't, well, it's time to add the blueberries anyway, so I'm going to be measuring those out at 100 grams. This is pretty subjective as well, based on how many blueberries you want inside of the recipe. And once the blueberries are in there, just lightly toss them in with the whisk. Try not to smash them with the whisk or anything, just make sure that they're incorporated with the batter and throughout the squares themselves. And these are going in the oven in a 9x9 pan, which I'm hitting with the cooking spray right now. And I'm then transferring in the batter. And the batter here is pretty thick, in combination with the oil sprayed pan makes it a pain in the ass to spread around, but try your best to reach all four corners and keep it an even surface on top. And after a long time of spreading, this is what it looks like prior to going into the oven. And I'm even doing something crazy here, adding some blueberries on top. You can never go wrong with too many blueberries. And these are finally ready to go in the oven, preheated at 350 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 30 minutes. Should be good after then, but go ahead and use the toothpick trick if you're unsure. And 30 minutes has come and gone, and this is the beauty that we are left with these delicious looking squares. And I understand the temptation to just dig into these right away, but I do think that these are best served cold for the best flavor. Should really only need a couple of hours though to get to that temperature. And this is the moment where the square becomes plural into squares, and I'm cutting it twice down the middle to make a total of 16 squares. And that pretty much wraps it up. This is the beauty that we are left with once it's finally finished. And these things don't just look beautiful, they have the macros to back them as well. And you know I can't leave without giving you that vital information. So in total, this recipe has 48 grams of protein with 67 grams of carbs and only 3 grams of fat for a total of 420 calories. Now, do keep in mind this is really only 2 servings, and you could even possibly stretch it into 3, but for only 2 servings of dessert and having it be roughly just over 200 calories, I personally think that's pretty good, as well as it having the protein content to back it. And look at all the volume that you're getting. If these were made with the sugar, flour, butter type stuff that you find in regular dessert recipes, I would probably figure it's about 200 calories for one of these squares. But my childhood dreams can officially be satisfied by being able to eat as much dessert as I want with making these recipes. And that's exactly what I want to do on this channel, is inspire people that they could eat whatever they want. It may be compromised on the flavor a little bit, but it's still going to be delicious at the end of the day. And that's actually going to wrap up today's video today. If you did have any questions or were confused at all on how this recipe is made, leave a comment down below and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Other than that, if you did find this helpful today, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.